Good morning. This is Susan, and this is Susan's Ramblings. Today we are concentrating on homemade basic recipes. Recipes that you can make at home instead of buying. Hamburger sausage. 5 pounds of hamburger. 5 heaping teaspoons of Morton tender quick salt. 1 round teaspoon of black pepper. 3 rounded teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of hickory liquid smoke, 2½ teaspoons of mustard seed. Knead all ingredients together. Refrigerate for 3 days. Knead each day. The first day, knead, form into logs like summer sausage. Put on a broiler pan in an oven at 170 degrees overnight or for 8 hours. Check for doneness beginning at 6 hours. Core can be frozen. Can use deer or antelope meat also. This is the recipe my mother used all the time for my dad's sandwiches. Homemade summer sausage. Same thing except it's little smaller ingredients. 2 pounds of hamburger. 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 2 tablespoons of Morton tender quick, 1 tablespoon of liquid smoke, 1 tablespoon of celery seeds, 3/4 cups of cold water. Mix well for 5 minutes. Make a long log in foil with holes punched in the bottom of the log in the bottom of the foil. Refrigerate 24 hours. Bake for 1 hour at 350 degrees with the punch side down. Homemade summer sausage. Oops, I took 2 of them. Copycat, Jimmy Dean sausage. Regular, 1 pound of ground pork, 1 teaspoon of salt or less, 1/2 teaspoon of dried parsley, 1/4 teaspoon of rubbed dried sage, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of thyme dried, 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper, which is optional, 1/4 teaspoon of ground coriander, 1/4 teaspoon of accent flavor enhancer. For hot, 1 pound of ground pork, 1 teaspoon of salt or less. The reason I say less salt is if it gets too salty, you add too much and you feel it's too salty. It's always better to begin with a slower amount of salt because you can always add more salt, but once you get it in there, you can't take it out. 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of dried rubbed sage, 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of ground coriander, 1/4 teaspoon of accent flavor enhancer. Mixed maple, 1 pound of ground pork, 3 tablespoons of maple flavored syrup, 1 teaspoon of salt or less, 1/2 teaspoon of accent flavor enhancer, 1/4 teaspoon of ground coriander. Mix all your ingredients together, form into patties. I divide it into 4 portions and I freeze, and then each portion will make 4 patties for me. Homemade celery sauce. 1 cup of celery leaves loosely packed, 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Preheat oven to 200 degrees. Line baking sheet with parchment paper. Arrange celery leaves in a single layer on the prepared sheet. Bake 20 minutes, rotating pan at 10 minutes. Remove from the oven. Cool slightly. Add the food processor or a spice grinder. Add salt. Process until finely ground. Cool completely. Store in an airtight container in a cool dark pantry for up to 6 months. Freeze and keep dry. Keep indefinitely. I keep taking 2 of them here. Homemade granola. 2 cups of oatmeal. 1/4 cup of sunflower seeds. 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds. 1/4 cup of sliced almonds. 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. 2 tablespoons of honey. 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. Preheat your oven to 325 degrees. In a large roasting pan, stir together the dry ingredients. In a small bowl, combine the coconut oil, honey, and vanilla. Drizzle the wet ingredients over the dry ingredients in the roasting pan. Stir well until everything looks coated. Extra oil or honey may be added as needed. Bake in a preheated oven 325 degrees for 40 minutes. Stir every 10 minutes. Cool. Store in an airtight container up to 3 months. Homemade brownie mix. 1 and 1/4 cup flour. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. 2/3 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. 2 cups of white sugar. Mix ingredients well. Place in an airtight container or a Ziploc bag in a cool, dark pantry. To use, add 1 cup of buttered milk, 3 eggs, room temperature, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 package of dry mix. Mix together well. Grease a 9 by 13-inch pan. Spread the batter in the pan. Bake at 350 degrees for 25 minutes or until done. Homemade Cajun seasoning. 2 teaspoons of sea salt, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 and 1/2 teaspoons of dried oregano, 1 and 1/4 teaspoons of dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Combine all ingredients in a bowl, mix well, store in an airtight container. Homemade Cajun seasoning. Pumpkin pie spice. 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1 and 1/2 teaspoon of ground allspice, 1/4 teaspoon of ground clove. Combine all ingredients, store in an airtight container. Homemade taco seasoning. 2 tablespoons chili powder, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, cayenne pepper to taste. Combine all ingredients, mix well, store in an airtight container. To use, 2 tablespoons of seasoning mix to 1/2 to 3/4 cup of water for each pound of ground beef. Homemade Greek seasoning. 1 and 1/2 teaspoons of oregano, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of basil, 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of parsley, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Combine all ingredients together, mix well, store in an airtight container. Those are dried spices, such as oregano, dried basil, dried thyme, dried parsley, okay, dried spices, yeah. Italian seasoning. 3 tablespoons of dried basil, 2 tablespoons of dried oregano, 2 tablespoons of dried parsley, 1 tablespoon of dried thyme, 1 tablespoon of dried rosemary, 1 tablespoon ground garlic, which is garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of ground onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes, 1 teaspoon of sea salt, 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. Combine all ingredients, mix together, and store in an airtight container. That's it for today. God bless.